Hi everyone, I hope you're well and going well. We just wanted to share with you some of the things that are going on at St Mark's. Now, over the last couple of weeks, a verse has kept coming up for me over and over. It's from Hebrews chapter 6, where the author says, we have this hope as an anchor for the soul, safe and secure. The hope that he's talking about is Jesus. Jesus who died for us, who died for our sins as a sacrifice so that we could have peace with God. That holds us safe in the midst of all the turbulence that is going on. Now, I've talked to a lot of you over the last couple of weeks, and I know that people are doing it tough, that some people have lost their jobs, are facing much less income, are dealing with kids at home in the midst of everything else, are shut in and unable to get out, and facing the severe isolation, the loss of regular routines and relationships, contact with people. And in the midst of all this, I want us to turn again to this hope that we have in Jesus, who will sustain us through this time. Now, there's a few things we're going to be doing over the next few weeks, and in particular, I want us to be called to a deeper discipleship, to follow Jesus even more richly. Now, last week we sent out in email form the services, and I know a number of people reported back that they had a great time going through the services with each other, singing the songs, saying the prayers, reading the Bible readings, and listening to the sermon. And there was lots of appreciative feedback, so thank you for all of that. It was great to hear that people had invited other people over. We must do this, of course, safely, with appropriate social distancing, but it was an absolutely great thing to do and a real blessing to me to hear that it had been done. It was great to hear that the kids enjoyed worshipping together and the material that we prepared for them. So we're going to do this again next week with a few little tweaks, trying to improve it as we go. And again, we'd love to hear your feedback about how it goes. Now, we're also going to be experimenting with something next week. Tim Escott and I will be sending out a Q&A video. We'd love to hear your questions about being a Christian disciple in this present context, this present crisis. We'll have a go at answering them on YouTube. And again, we'd love to have some interaction with you over that. Lastly, if you're looking for something to read, we've got a couple of books for sale. These are books that I've written. They're not long. And you can go to our website and find these two books. We'll send them to you for about $30. So it'd be great to have those read. It'd be great to discuss them as well. I'd love to share with you what moved me to write them. So that's deeper discipleship. We're also going to be connecting with one another, keeping together as a community. That's really important. And I want to invite you to think about who you might be able to call from St Mark's. Is there someone you could be in regular contact with? Perhaps someone that mightn't be having a lot of calls at the moment, but is there a regular group that you could just be in touch with? It might be your Connect group, it might be some other group. Could you form a WhatsApp group with them? Could you join our Facebook group? We're having a great time over there, sharing jokes, reminiscences, and photographs, and all sorts of other things besides. Are there other ways in which you could keep connected with the St Mark's community? It'd be great to hear from you as to how that goes as well. Then, after the services on Sunday, we'll actually be having morning tea and after 10 o'clock, and we'll be having supper or dinner after 5:30 by going on Zoom. You've already been sent links for that. Just join in the conversation and connect, see some faces. It's really important to see faces at this time. It's also really important for us to be thinking about how we're going to love our neighbour. We want to unleash you to do this, to give you lots of great ideas for loving the neighbours that are around you, looking out for vulnerable people, but also keeping people together and making each other aware of each other's needs in your neighbourhood, your building, or in your street, or through the school community that you're part of. We'll also be asking our friends up at Rough Edges in St John's, Darlinghurst, as to how we can be helping them at this time so that we can be loving our neighbours. And lastly, we need to make sure at St Mark's that no one is left behind. So in our little community, can we look out for those who are particularly isolated, or who we know are unwell, or who have friends and family that are unwell, or who are doing it tough financially? We'd love to hear from you if you know of some cases where the church might be able to help. So please keep in touch with us so that we can offer our help. We need to fill our freezer with meals. It's started to happen. People have been sending in freezer meals. but there's still more room in that big freezer. We'd love to have that full because people really need that ministry. Likewise, we're going to start a pantry, and so if you've got time when you're shopping just to grab an extra bag of pasta, extra frozen meal, whatever it might be, bring it up to the church and we'll stock it and we'll distribute it to people who have need. Some of that's already been going on, I'm really glad to say. So let's look after one another in this time. Let's be looking after one another and leave no one behind. A couple of other things. Firstly, a number of you ask me, how can you do giving at this time, particularly when you can't come to church? It's a really important question. I'm really glad you asked. We're going to have to give by other means, and you can do a couple of things. You could send in checks. We'd be very happy to process them. But giving online is very safe and very secure, and will really help us as we plan for the future to keep St. Mark's together, to make sure that St. Mark's continues to minister in the way that it has and can do so in this very difficult time. So we'd love you to pay attention to take attention of that in the next little while. The last thing just to say is that our AGM has unfortunately been cancelled. But that's okay. We've been given permission by the diocese to put our AGM off until it's safe for us to meet. You'll find the details about that in the written weekly catch-up, and you can find more there. Lastly, I want us to return to that verse that I mentioned at the beginning about Jesus being the hope that we have, the hope which is an anchor for our souls, safe and secure. There's no more important message for us to take heed of this time, to have that hope and indeed to be that hope for the world around us. See you next time.